Hey entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers. We started the Pilot House email and customer retention team to crush targets. And in our 4th year, we are the best customer retention team in the Roman character set. We use campaigns to fire up the addresses you spent so much money to acquire and build effective automations that keep your engagement window fat and drive value that you can amortize over years. The cheapest customer is the customer you already have, and the most effective ad funnels go to high-intent audience. Come to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, and ask to speak with me directly. I'll give you a free audit. Back to the show.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Stop doing this. People are sending double tap emails to non-openers. Stop doing this. This is a message of mercy. I see this all the time. The only people who have a high chance of engaging on an email, Gmail knows how often someone interacts with emails indexed to every sending domain. And they go, nobody on this list has interacted with one of these guys' emails in like months. And they send it right to spam. So what should you do? It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. If you want to make the sweet nectar of low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem, follow us on your favorite podcast app today. This time, I just want to send a message to everybody out there to just stop doing this, okay? Stop doing this. People are sending these double tap emails to non-openers. I might have touched on this before in the pod, but I know that not everybody listens to every single episode, and sometimes my talks are like an hour long. So I'm just going to spell this out as clearly as I can right here, what you're doing to your sending reputation. Okay? So this is a message of mercy. I have given some messages of mercy before. This is a message of mercy. I see this all the time. So we're going to walk through it, okay? Piece by piece. Gmail is everybody. Maybe twice have I found a US-based brand whose number one inbox provider is not Gmail for their audience, right? Sometimes if you're in Europe, Gmail is not as important, but it, by the way, still huge. Maybe not number one. Most people, between half and 2/3 of their emails are going to Gmail users. So it is a monster, all right? Gmail's number one indicator for inboxing is engagement. How often people engage with your messages when the last time they engaged with your message was. How often they engage and when the last time was. Okay? Now, you may have heard me give the Navy SEAL analogy. Let's imagine when you send an email to unengaged people, you're sending a Navy SEAL who's your engaged user across the enemy lines to get unengaged users and save the hostages and bring them back. And every Navy SEAL can put a hostage on each shoulder because they're big, tough guys. So hostage here, came across the line. What does that mean? That means for 2 unengaged people on your deployment list, you need to have 1 engaged person. What is an engaged person? A person who's clicked within the last 30 days, at least done a real open in the last 30 days. These are engaged users, okay? People who visit, people who drive traffic, they start checkout, they're doing something. So why do you think in this 2-to-1 ratio? This is how it works. You send an email and a little sample gets sent. You send a big, hey, we're going to send out 100,000 addresses. We're doing a launch. Okay, Gmail doesn't just send out those 100,000. No. You know why they don't send out those 100,000? Because they bear the cost of transmission. And if they're sending garbage emails that no one's interacting with, they're just wasting their own money. The whole purpose of the Gmail inbox is for them to sell advertising, because people do advertise to you within your inbox, and to farm you for information for their AI. They're not doing Gmail out of the goodness of their hearts, right? So they send a sample. Let's say, look, are people opening and clicking this? If they are opening and clicking it, okay. They send the rest and they put it in their inbox. If people aren't opening and clicking, they go, this email's garbage. People are not going to interact with it. It's going to be clutter in their inbox. It's going to do its small part to decrease their interest in interacting with Gmail. This is what the Gmail wants. Every time they open their inbox, oh my God, all this stuff I love. That's right. That's what they want. So if you send an email that fails, a campaign that fails that sample, then Gmail goes spam. And how do we know when something has gone to spam? Again, we've discussed this. For Gmail, look, just go to your spam folder and look at an email, and you notice they've got no pictures, right? Gmail doesn't send the image URL until it's taken out of the spam folder. And since that image URL isn't there, the call to the cached image to say whether an email is opened or not, which is cached on an Apple server for Apple Privacy Opens, and most people are using iPhones, so most of them have Apple Privacy Opens, that email doesn't automatically pull that cached image, and it does not automatically appear as opened, and suddenly you see open rate 17%, okay? Back in the days, 17% was a fine open rate. Now 17% is like horrible. It's nasty. Many people in that email did not get your email. Now, sometimes I see these double taps to non-openers. I saw one recently when I was doing an audit that had an open rate of 3.14%. That is pi. Pi is a very low open rate. Nobody saw that email. Nobody saw that email. Okay? It was a waste. So what happened? This is the non-opener double tap that people are doing. Okay? They go, oh, I'm going to send the email again, but to people who didn't open. Because if they opened, they're aware of the email. And I don't want to I want to respect their inbox. Hey, everybody, great to respect people's inboxes. Maybe, we'll get to solutions in a second, but just fast forward to that. Maybe swap out the hero shot and send it to engage people again with a different subject line. Maybe, right? Maybe don't send the exact same message. Maybe spruce it up a bit, okay? Anyway, they say, I want to respect people's inboxes. So they find everybody who opened, right, or clicked, and pull them out and make a new segment of people who did not open or click. Okay? Now, past behavior is an indication of future behavior. This is normal stuff. This is everyday life stuff. When your buddy's always doing the same dumb thing, you can bet he's going to do the same dumb thing in future. Okay? People who did not open your last email, they are not likely to open 2 days later. Why? They're not checking their email right now. Some people don't check their email every day. So they're not like suddenly, I'm going to open this one. They might be people who don't check their email a lot in general. And this is certain. I know this for sure. The majority of your email list is useless. For sure, 75% of an email list is trash, right? Old stuff. Oh, this is years old. Okay, what happens when you do the thing you just did, where you go through and pull everyone who didn't open or click? Well, suddenly, if you aren't doing proper engagement windows, you're like all these people who have been on the list for like years. You could be messaging them. Yeah, they didn't open because they haven't opened for years. Lots of people in that will be people who have not opened in years. And you email them. What's the chance they're going to open? Very low. In fact, the only people who have a high chance of engaging on an email are people who've recently engaged with an email. Those are the people that have a high chance of engaging, period. So you say, okay, let's pull out everybody who clicked or opened this email. You're not just pulling out people who engaged with that email. You're pulling out people who engage in general. Because a lot of people who check their email every day, they go through, they open it. I'm going through. Blah, blah, blah. Lots of people who opened that email, like most people who opened that email that you just sent, that you're double tapping, They did not go, oh, let's look through and really understand this offer. Oh, let me read the headline. All right, we're launching. All right, we got this stuff launching. Oh, and let me scroll down. Let me shop through all of the different stuff that's launching. Click through here. Oh, yeah. Oh, I really want that. Okay, I'm going to buy that on the browse abandon. That's not the average person who opened that email. The average person who opened that email is saying, can I delete this? We all go to our inbox, and the first thing we think is, how many of these emails can I delete right now? So they're just blasting through, right? They might have deleted it after they opened it and not even assessed in any way what's going on in there. That's the average person that just opened that email. So first of all, you pull all them out, you're pulling out people that might meaningfully interact with that email, right? Just because they opened it and looked at it for 2 seconds does not mean that they're going to be offended if you send it to them again, or they're not going to interact with it if you send it to them again. In fact, they have a higher chance of interacting with that email than the non-openers. The non-openers that you're now including, it's full of garbage addresses that haven't interacted forever. That group of non-openers has a lower chance of meaningfully interacting with that email than the people who just opened it. The people who just opened it are likely to interact meaningfully with that message, okay? So we say, all right, we do our segmentation, we pull out everybody who just interacted, which includes who are mostly people who didn't interact meaningfully, they just measurably interacted. We pull out everybody who might have done something with this double tap. We pull out everyone who clicked. Whoa. People who actually went to the site as a result of this email. People who found this email so compelling that they went to the site. Okay, we're going to pull them out. Don't want to email them. And then we send to the garbage that's left over, the dregs of our list. And we get a 3.1% open rate, right? So one, nobody got that email. That email went right to spam. Gmail looked at it and was like, nobody's interacting with this email. In fact, this is what Gmail's doing. Gmail knows how often someone interacts with emails indexed to every sending domain. And they go, nobody on this list has interacted with one of these guys' emails in like months, right? Because that's who you pulled out. You pulled out everybody. The people who are opening, right? The person who opened, that person's generally opening. So you pull that. It's not like, oh, they opened this one and this is like a world in itself. This email is like, it's just its own little thing. And this has nothing to do with how much they're interacting, and how much they're interacting with our other messages is completely random and completely uncorrelated with this asset. No. The fact that they opened that email means they're likely to be someone who's opened significantly in the last 60 days or 90 days or whatever your window is. So you pulled out all those good addresses, and what's left is the garbage. And Gmail goes, most of the people on this list have not interacted with this brand through email in over 6 months or whatever it is. And they go, this is garbage. And they send it right to spam. And the 3% of people who did open, the 3% of people who did get it, those are people who just signed up for your list. Because Gmail and Yahoo do, I say Gmail here, lots of the stuff is Yahoo too, okay? These are your two most important inbox providers. They do give a grace period. When someone just signs up for a brand, they make sure that they get some emails because like, well, they said I want messages from this brand. But the worse your sending reputation, the earlier they drop it and say, well, we're going to just stop sending messages, right? Because this is a bad sending reputation. This is a bad domain. We don't trust this domain. We don't think this domain adds value to the inboxes of our users. So no one got it, except just the most recent addresses, which is strong. Those are good addresses to get your messages. But that's not how you build a relationship, right? Now, not only did nobody get that email, but your sending reputation is an aggregate of all your deployments. So if you are constantly sending out double taps to non-openers, you are constantly sending a message to Gmail saying, we do not have a good relationship with our audience. You're constantly sending a message to Gmail and Yahoo saying, our audience does not think our messages are valuable. And what does it do? It drags down your sending reputation. And then the good emails start going to spam. And who are the people who are most likely to get sent to spam? The people who have interacted with you where it's been the longest period of time since they've interacted. So suddenly people from like 90 days ago, right? And like 90 days ago, that's not too long ago, right? But suddenly those ones just start going to spam. Now, if you watched our cohort episode, we did a cohort episode a couple episodes back or something like that. If you watch that cohort episode, you'll know there's a lot of people who make a repeat purchase after 2 quarters. So if suddenly Gmail starts sending stuff to spam after 90 days, you're no longer speaking to a group of people who are very likely to make a repeat purchase, right? In fact, when we think about the real unlock of email is being in the inbox like 15 months later when someone's like, hey, I could use another one of these. Oh, this one's broken, or I'd like it in another color, or hey, I lost some weight. Oh man, I'm going to look so good and I'm going to get another one. It's going to look great, whatever it is. That's the unlock. Now, all email attribution is really focused around stuff that just came in the top of the funnel. It's just the way the attribution system works. It's hard to attribute the value of someone who's just had your brand kind of had, burned in their psyche by seeing your emails twice a week. It's very difficult to attribute that. You can, but it takes over a year, no matter what, to even start the attribution, to understand that, right? Because you need to gather all this benchmark data on stale addresses and how they interact. Point being, suddenly stuff starts getting truncated at 90 days. That audience is gone. And you can hit them with SMS, more expensive, right? And it's more challenging to create rich brand experiences with SMS. You can, there's tactics you can do, VIP and stuff like this. But I mean, you're basically just like, you had 2 legs and you just chopped a leg off, right? How are we messaging stale addresses and creating a long-lasting relationship with them? Well, we had 2 legs, but we amputated one, right? At 90 days. So that we could send out double taps to non-openers who are definitely not going to get the email. That's the effect of constantly sending these double taps to non-openers. This is one of the worst tactics I see when I am analyzing people's accounts. It is the biggest facepalm, right? Now, you know what? It's worked for us. People come along and they have destroyed their sending reputation with this practice. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to clean that up for you. Might take a little bit. But that brings me no joy. It brings me no joy. That's not how we want to make money, right? We sell our service. We got people coming, they got the Meta and they got Google. What do we want to do? We want to get started right away, reactivating these old addresses, firing up some dry tinder, making some money, and feeding that money to further up the funnel so that we can drive awareness and bring in people with search intent. That's what we want to do. We want to do the real cool marketing. We don't want to spend 2 or 3 months resuscitating your dying sending reputation. It brings me no joy. I'd rather just come here and say, stop doing this. Just stop. I don't want to see it anymore. It's so bad. So what should you do? Thank you, everybody, for waiting through almost 20 minutes of what you should not do. But I really had to drive it home. I really got to drive home how dumb it is. The number one indicator for your inbox provider, for your major inbox providers, for whether they should put you in the spam folder is engagement. And this is an email to specifically unengaged addresses. You're specifically sending emails to the addresses that these providers do not want you to email, right? So bad. So how about this? Now look, you know what? My My marketers, they each have their own way to do this. They've each got their own way to double tap. I'm going to give you a couple of ideas, and I'll just say it's not the only way. What I'm going to say right now is not the only way. Definitely not the way is pulling out every single engaged address and sending only to unengaged addresses. This is not the way. It's not the way. Now, this might sound radical. This one's radical, okay? Send it to everyone who clicked on the last email. Your double tap goes to people who clicked. Whoa. That's like the exact opposite of what we just talked about, right? Yes, it's the exact opposite. Okay? Now, definitely change the subject line. Why not just like reminder, blah, blah, blah. It's a reminder email. Who's like, oh my God, a reminder email. I got to click spam to this. Whoa, they're sending me a reminder? How dare they? No one's thinking that, right? If you're making beautiful emails that add value to someone's inbox, if they don't want the reminder, they're just going to delete it. And that's it. Because, of course, rule number 1, create the email program that you would want to be on. If you've created an email program that you would want to be on, when you send this double tap and frame it as a reminder, people are going to be okay with it. And you know what? Gmail's going to love it because you just sent to people who clicked. So you know what's going to happen? Past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. If they clicked on the last one, they're going to click on this one too. And since you sent to your whole audience, including non-visitors, we should be splitting our audience. I've told you, everybody, split your audience into prospect and buyer. Maybe prospect, first-time buyer, repeat buyer, maybe. Woo, right? Also, we should consider splitting our audience into visitors and non-visiting openers. A non-visiting opener is, and then of course, non-openers. The non-openers are garbage. Do not email them, right? If someone has visited, they're fine, right? And you do every once in a while, if you tease out the data, you'll find people who click and they don't have an open. It can just happen. The open doesn't get registered because they click back really quick or something. I don't know, but they have clicked, right? So another way to look at this is non-openers, non-visiting openers, and visitors, okay? So past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. The fact that they clicked on the last email, they're very likely to click on this one. And you sent to your whole list, so you got a click-through rate of 1% or something like that. And then you send to only the clickers, you're going to get a click-through rate, rather than having an open rate of 3.14%, you're going to get a click-through rate of 3.14%. It's going to send this huge beam of light to Gmail saying, whoa, people love our emails. Be sure to inbox us. That's the message Gmail is going to get from your double taps because you sent to clickers, right? So that will sound radical to any of you out there who are sending double taps to non-openers, which is just garbage, right? Flip it on its head. Send it to the most engaged people. You know what? You're also going to do the best revenue-wise. Why? Because people who are likely to drive traffic are the addresses that are most likely to spend. Because you have to visit to spend. And remember, people who click are likely to click. It's just the way it is, right? People who play guitar on the weekend are likely to play guitar on any given weekend. That's the way it works, right? People who click are likely to click. So just by sending it to people who clicked on that last email, you're likely to get clicks, okay? All right, how about another way to do this? Well, why not just send it to the exact same audience again? Reminder : right? So what do these two options that I just gave you do? They include addresses that are likely to engage. You sent to an audience. That audience obviously had engagers. Obviously, everybody's average audience has people who are engaged. So in the very least, you sent to people who are engaged, okay? Send it to the exact same audience again. Reminder : at least it's not going to get dumped in spam, right? And some people who got it who didn't open, they still won't open. Some people who got it who opened, hey, maybe this time they'll click. When you change the subject line, like I said, hey, why not swap out the hero shot? Really easy if you've got a template where you don't have text over image. You just actually drag in another image. If you've got text over image, you got to redo the headline. So what? Copy and paste the headline over top of the new image. Okay, how about something between these two? I just gave you a bookended. Right? Over here is non-openers, bad. Okay, and then just people who clicked. And then the same audience again. Send to the same audience again. At least it's not going to go to spam. At least you're not damaging your sending reputation. What's in between that? People who opened or clicked. Now, this is why this will sound radical to some of you. Wait a second. I'm going to send it again to the people who do know that email exists. I'm going to send it and be like, look, I'm just sending the exact same thing again. Yes. Right? Yes, that's exactly what you're going to do because they're more likely to open and click. Just like the clickers are, you're going to get a great click-through rate. On this one, you're going to get a great click-through rate and a great open rate. The click-through rate will not be 3.14 versus 1, but it'll suddenly be like 1.8 or something like that. And you're going to get an awesome open rate. It's going to be real opens because you're targeting people who are generally likely to open. Because someone who opened at all is generally likely to open. So this is actually going to bring up your sending reputation. If you double tap this way, over time, it will increase your sending reputation rather than decreasing your sending reputation. Now, some of you may say, wait a second, it's crazy to say, oh, you just interacted with this email, you know this email is out there, and I'm going to send it specifically to you again. And to that, I say, hey, why not create a new email, right? Why not create enough content to meet your message frequency needs, right? I mean, if you really want to, you can come fill out the lead form, pilothouse.co, and talk to me and the email and retention team, and we will talk about how to ramp up your content creation. You can tap our creators, and we'll just double the number of campaigns you're creating, right? At a good cost. Other than that, yeah, why not just create enough content for your channel? Or why not lean on more automations? I just said the people who clicked are likely to drive traffic and are likely to spend. Why not build automations that flood the inbox for people who've recently clicked? Why not just do that to drive your traffic rather than taking the campaign you just sent and sending it 2 days later? Now, look, full disclosure, we double tap a lot. Why? Because we are a performance agency. We're here to make you money. We work with other channels. Our other channels are contacting us constantly saying, hey, look, we got to hit this target. Can you do something today? We're like, okay, we put together a double tap, right? We send it out. We drive the revenue. We do it in a way that's going to drive revenue and not ruin your sending reputation, right? So yeah, we do this all the time. That's why I'm talking about it, because I'm seeing how bad it's done. But hey, rather than doing your double taps, why not build a good email program that says, oh, this person was recently on the site in any measurable way, which would be active on site, viewed product, checkout started, email click. We know they were on the site, and we put them through a beautiful, repeatable funnel with dynamic recommendations, put them through a funnel of 3 to 5 messages, built around the product line that they clicked on. Why don't you do that to drive more revenue? Why do the double tap at all, right? It's the lowest common denominator. Sometimes you got to plug a hole. I understand. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if this is what you're doing all the time, maybe you totally don't get email. Maybe you just don't get it, right? I mean, put it this way. If you can't imagine sending the exact same email to whoever just clicked or opened 2 days later, if that seems crazy, then don't do it, right? Just work on your automated program. Don't do it, right? But bottom line, sending to everybody who clicked or opened with a new subject line for sure, reminder. And then, definitely why not swap out the hero, right? Just to freshen it up. I showed you a very high quality, go back and look at Fry Company that I went through. Beautiful emails, classic American brand, just great email program. Everybody here, if you haven't watched the breakdown of Fry & Company, go back a few episodes, look at the breakdown of Fry & Company. It's amazing. Oldest continually running shoe brand in America, okay? Great company. They're doing double taps, swapping out the hero. Probably because email is about driving results, and someone in the organization said we got to drive some results. But doing it to the people who opened or clicked on that last email is going to cast the widest net without damaging your inboxing and drive the most results and get not only that, when you send to the non-openers, also the results suck. Listen, any revenue you see from that is like false attribution from Apple Privacy Opens, right? If you switch to the tactics I just discussed, which is sending to the clickers or sending to the clickers and the openers, you're going to drive more revenue too. Everything's going to improve. So, okay, that was like a 32-minute rant. Sometimes I'm doing classy, sophisticated stuff on the channel. Sometimes I'm just ranting. But like, come on, guys. Seriously, stop doing this. Okay? All right, entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers, thank you very much for giving me your time and trust, and have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.